Here we go. All right, here we go. Welcome back to JB Reviews. Today, we're gonna be testing out the diesel and the gas engines. Because fuel price is a little bit higher and people are probably wondering about this, I figured it's a good time to talk about it. And I'm here at Garff Chevrolet here in American Fork. And I got Brady Ryan right here with me. And so, what's your cell phone number?
My cell phone number is 385-309-7133. And I work at Garff Chevrolet. We'd love to help you out here if we can. Like to treat everybody like family and make sure you're getting the best possible experience.
Nice. And they got a ton of inventory. I think they have probably half a dozen of these gas and diesel 6.2s. I don't think you have any 5.3s.
We don't have any 5.3s left, but
okay,
we do have a great selection of the 3 liter, the 6.2 liter. Very popular models, very popular engines. Both are going to do just fine for you.
And you got the green color too. I was going to grab one of those, but I couldn't find the keys to it. But regardless of it,
gray is one of my favorite colors.
Yes.
I absolutely love it. It looks especially good on the Z71s. We're getting the platform on there with the black grille, the upgraded wheels and tires, the suspension upgrades.
Yeah.
Z71, Cypress gray, top tier.
Awesome. Cool. Let's go ahead and drive that diesel first. Thank you, brother.
Of course, absolutely. And thank you guys.
I left my 360 camera at the house. I was going to use it up here, but it's okay. So as I mentioned, we are driving the diesel first, and I think most people obviously know how this is going to end for fuel economy, but how much are you going to save with fuel prices the way they are? This is the worst case scenario because diesel is now over $5 a gallon. However, that 6.2 liter doesn't necessarily require premium, but it's probably something you should consider if you are buying that engine. I'm just being honest. I think that it's a high performance engine. That's how I look at it. 420 horsepower, it's a lot of horsepower, right? So, man, having the 18s with the tire pressure at 35 psi, this ride's so nice. Wow. And remember, or you probably don't know this, I did this setup for a reason. This one does not have air suspension. The other one does. So if you're looking between the two, that might be something this test will help with as well. With brake feel, they have great feeling brakes. You guys see back there too? Great visibility. And you would never know this is a diesel. You don't really hear any diesel sounds for the most part. It's not a loud engine. You don't smell diesel because of the emissions equipment on this SUV too. So there are some benefits for some people who like the idea of the fuel economy but don't like the idea of a diesel. Let's go ahead and drive that gas engine next. I like the 6.2. I feel like I would get better fuel economy with this compared to the 5.3. I can see myself pushing it more because this has so much power down low. Like when you hit it, it just goes. Like it's like you can feel it. And I would burn the premium because those horsepower and torque numbers are based on premium fuel. I'm willing to bet you. Now, the air suspension does make a difference, but I will admit, if you were like on a budget, don't feel bad for skipping it, but this does make the ride just a little bit softer. And you can increase your ground clearance. What are you doing? Now let's go ahead and jump back over to that 3 liter because we're gonna do the performance test real quickly. I'm getting off the highway right now, and this is not the midpoint because we only go on 4 miles basically. But I wanted to just go ahead and get off because there's a good spot over here to do a acceleration test getting back on the highway. Since it's 80 miles an hour, I can pretty much drop off at like the 8th mile, which is nice too. But yeah, the steering feel is nice and tight with this one. No road noise. You're gonna obviously have the same for that 6.2, but let's go ahead and talk about the performance because that's really what I want to see out of this test. It's hot today. It's 83 degrees, but it's probably a little bit hotter because of this hot asphalt too. This 3 liter Duramax diesel is inline 6, has 305 horsepower, 495 pound-feet of torque. All that power does go through a 10-speed transmission. Let's see how it performs. Here we go. This 6.2 liter puts out 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. All that power does go through a 10-speed transmission. Let's see how it performs. All right, here we go. No surprises there. No surprises at all. You guys knew how that was going to end. This 6.2 liter just has way more horsepower, and I mean, I would say that the torque is pretty dang close too. But the reality is, the fuel economy is where you're going to really get hurt. You see that right there? We're at 15.3 MPG. But yeah, this got, I mean, most people might see that as not that great, but remember, the tires, all these things are going to affect performance. And I didn't launch this thing in all-wheel drive mode either. But something else you have to consider too is I am about 4,300 feet above sea level. So that's going to hurt your performance as well, because every 1,000 feet you go up, you lose 3% of your horsepower. Let's hop back over to that 3-liter Duramax. Now we're getting ready to get off the highway, but I want to address something really quickly. This is why you buy this 3-liter Duramax. If you plan on doing a ton of highway driving, like at least a couple times a month, that is why you get this engine. Now I'm going to show you guys the fuel economy. This is pretty much where we're going to turn around and go back to the dealership. But this SUV is not lightweight. I'm going to show that to you guys here in a second. But the other thing about it is it's not really aerodynamic because of the Z71 package. So it doesn't have a front balance, things like that. The tires are not set up for fuel economy. So there are things that put this at a disadvantage, which is why I chose the Z71s. Because if you get a high country or even an RST, you could potentially get better fuel economy based off the tires and having, you know, more aerodynamics on the front end. Now this is pretty much the stop. So right here we're at 22.8 MPG, and we haven't even been driving that long. So imagine if we were on the highway for 30-45 minutes, I could easily probably get 24-25. Now that's 6.2 will not get close, because you guys saw we did a 0 to 60, and that's going to hurt fuel economy. So I do the test like this because I feel like it is more real world when I add in the acceleration, because no one's hypermiling. You know, sometimes when you're getting onto the highway, you have to give it the juice. So let's jump in that 6.2 liter. For the 6.2 liter at the midpoint, we're at 17.7 MPG, and it's going to go down a little bit because we have to get back up to speed and go the opposite direction. But yeah, this is no surprise here. Now at the end, I'm going to show you guys a breakdown with the fuel costs for the national average, and I'm going to show you guys what it would be at 100,000 miles, just to give you a good perspective. So again, if you're doing a lot of highway driving, I would 100% go with the 3-liter Duramax, just because that's where you're going to keep those emission control equipment happy, and you're going to get the best fuel economy. Now let's discuss this package. Now I do notice this one has the heads-up display. I also can see that this has the camera for the rearview mirror. This one has a twin panel just like the other one did, and they both have the wireless charger down below. But apart from that, I don't really see a lot of other features that stick out. And the one thing I know you cannot get with this Z71 package is perforated leather and ventilated seats. Those features are missing on this SUV, which does not make sense. They need to add a Z71 Ultimate package. It's necessary now. And so hopefully in the future we'll see something from Chevy That way you can get more of those luxury features, because the RST doesn't get ventilated seats. It has perforated leather, not ventilated seats. So you would have to step up to a high country to get those kind of features. And it's supposed to be like 91 degrees today. And so that's gonna really, really suck when you don't have that perforated leather that helps your back to breathe a little bit better, not sweat. Just something to consider. Here are the numbers on the door. Gross axle weight rating out front is gonna be 3,700 pounds. The rear is 4,300 pounds. Gross vehicle weight rating is 7,700 pounds. And then payload is gonna be 1,564 pounds and 35 PSI for the tires. The numbers for the 6.2 liter are the same for the axle ratings. However, the gross vehicle rating is 7,600 pounds, so 100 pounds less. And then all in payload for this one with the options is 1,491 pounds. And then tire pressure is the same. Pulling back in with the 3 liter Duramax, we are at 23.1 miles per gallon. That is really good. And like I said, this is not really set up for fuel economy, right? If you want to get a hypermile SUV, you want to get maybe LT trim, although can you get the Duramax with the LT? You probably can. I'm pretty sure you can. But you want to get a more baseline LT 18-inch wheels, right? That's the one that's going to really give you the best fuel economy. But let's go ahead and see what this 6.2 is at the endpoint here. How far off is it? That's not bad. 18.4 MPG. That ain't bad. For 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. And I don't really drive these in a way to hypermile it. I'm just cruising. I'm using the cruise control. I'm not trying to get the best fuel economy. I'm just driving as if it doesn't matter to me. And that's how most people probably drive anyways. So all in all, this is probably the way I would go, just because I like the performance. I think that 3 liter Duramax would probably annoy me simply because it does not have a lot of power in the top end. So if you need to pass one at 75 miles an hour, it does feel a lot sluggish. Now, I'm sure some of you were probably shocked when you heard me say I would probably pick the 6.2 liter. Let me explain that for a second. Most of you know I'm a diesel fanboy, but I would not be the one driving this SUV. My wife would be. And my wife drives a lot in the city, and she does idle quite a bit. I think her average speed on her SUV right now is like 27 miles an hour. That's not good for diesels. So I think this would be the better route for her. Now, if I were picking for myself, I probably would still pick the 6.2 liter simply because of the horsepower. When you're at 60, 65 miles an hour, you notice that this is pretty much out of steam. So if you're looking for something with more performance when you're on the highway quite a bit, this might be the best way to go, because that 420 horsepower is just getting started at 60 miles an hour, whereas this is pretty much done. So if they had a high output version of the Duramax diesel, that would make up the difference for me personally. But all in all, it's still a good SUV. I highly recommend it. But just remember, if you're doing a lot of stop and go, if you're dropping your kids off to school and picking them up and it's 30, 45 minutes waiting in line at low speeds, you have to get this thing on the highway at least once a week to get that DPF clean. So I highly recommend you do some research on diesel before you buy one, but I would not mark it off your list because it is a really good option for some people. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. See you guys soon.